Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Rapid Review. Uh, if you're joining us for the first time, I'm going to be going through everything that went on in the overall market, get everybody ready to trade for next week. We said it last week. This was going to be a pivotal week in the market. This was going to tell us a lot about this current uptrend, whether it was going to continue on or whether there's a possibility that we might have to be a little more patient, whether it's due to chop or a bigger pullback or correction. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, and also going to be going over a couple charts towards the end, something a little bit new. A couple people in the Discord channel had asked, or just to kind of go over some charts, so we'll make sure we do that towards the end. But getting started, looking at the market direction, still in an uptrend, still in a power trend. In terms of distribution days, we're sitting at 5 distribution days on the S&P, and we're sitting at 1 distribution day on the NASDAQ. What happened this week was we gained a distribution day on the NASDAQ on the S&P. That was on Tuesday. We were down on volume, which brought that count up on both of those indexes. Just breaking down what we have going on currently, just to take a look. The yellow ones are pending stalling days. If you follow Market School, follow IBD in terms of the rules for distribution. You can't have the same number of stalling days as you have number of distribution days. So that even though they're here, they are not counted in terms of the overall count, giving us that 2 on the NASDAQ. And like I said, giving us 5 on the S&P. The big thing to talk about, though, we will be dropping off the July 7th distribution day due to time on Monday. Once you hit 25 trading days since that distribution day, it is no longer valid, drops off the count. Other than that, looking at getting rid of any of these, it's going to be price action next week. So if we can have a really strong, powerful week, I could see us dropping off a day on the NASDAQ. And, I don't see us dropping this day off here. That would have to be a pretty huge move. The S&P has been lagging, but needless to say, we'll keep an eye on that stuff. Big up week for the market. S&P up 2.43%, NASDAQ up 3.87%, leading out the week, and the Dow up 1.35%. That leads us to the year. We're up 8.63% for the year. We're up 11.08% on the NASDAQ. That leads us out for the year, and we were up 3.83 on the Dow. So all green in this slide, positive action this week, and we'll go a little further into it when we look at the indexes. But here, looking at the moving averages, the big thing to talk about was we had broke through both the 10 and the 21 on last week, closing out the week on the S&P and the NASDAQ. So that was definitely a concerning sign. We had talked about really what we were looking at going into next week, and is how did we interact with that 21 EMA. And as you can see, we got back above it. You can see those levels here. The Dow still lagging, but for us growth stock traders, not the biggest concern. The Russell's definitely been lagging throughout the year, those small caps, but not too far below that 10 and that 21 day there. So all right, let's jump over and let's take a look at what is going on with these indexes. We'll break down kind of what went on with this week first. We'll zoom in on the NASDAQ on the daily. So like we had talked about, this was how we finished out Friday. It was brutal. We had the stalling action that happened right at the top over here, which was telling us there's a good likelihood we were finishing out the week going down lower. But we did have support the 10-day simple moving average, but Friday just turned right below, and we're talking about last week. So coming into this week, this 21-day exponential moving average was extremely important. How we interacted around here was going to tell us a lot about what we could be expecting, at least in the short term, for this uptrend. So it was a little choppy during the week. It looks great now, but going through what happened this week, right? We responded great on Monday. We were up, we got back above the 21 and even back above the 10 on the NASDAQ. But the concerning part about that was the volume was super, super light. Some of the lightest volume we've seen in a long time. And seeing us jump from that bottom on such low volume was definitely a concern for me. But again, nothing to tell us exactly what was going to happen moving forward. It was just kind of like, I don't like the way that looks. And that's when on Tuesday we had that distribution day. In the morning we gapped up. It looked like we were trying to get and hold above that 10-day simple moving average, and then just reversed. Again, not a great sign, but we found a lot of support at that 21 day. And that was where we're getting these mixed signals. Some things look positive, some things look negative. And it just kind of continued out through the week because on Wednesday. Then we found the support. We got back again above that 10-day simple moving average. And then on Thursday, this was a very interesting day. If you go back to looking at it, it looks fine now, but intraday, and this is why I tell people don't get too caught up in the intraday moves. Have a plan, have your stops. Don't be sitting there getting all worked up over what's going on intraday, because how we close is the big thing. And we gapped up in the morning, really, really positive. But as we started to get towards those all-time highs, this is where the market reversed. It was around basically right off the gap up. We just started reversing all the way to about 2 o'clock. And then at 2 o'clock, right as we got towards that 10-day simple moving average, we found support. The bulls stepped in, drove this day up. We closed right and around the 50% range for the day. And again, not positive to see us get rejected here, but positive to see us find support at the 10-day. So the volume was higher. You can see the volume kind of ticking up from the distribution day. And again, we left off Thursday just saying, like, we don't really know what's happening. We got positive signals, we got negative signals. Like, we kind of got to wait and see. It really felt like this was just going to be a lot of sideways chop, and we'd be kind of being more patient. And then on Friday, you could see we opened up higher. We finished closing near the highs. We got an all-time high close on the NASDAQ, but we did not take out that intraday high from July 31st. So still seeing some resistance at the all-time highs, even though we got the all-time high close, which is positive. Finding a ton of support at the 10-day and the 21, which is positive. But I don't think we're in the clear yet. Overall, this was a super positive week considering how we started. But I would like to see us just at least take out these highs and then kind of see us trend higher. There is still a chance that we get rejected. Going back and looking at what happened towards the end of last year, beginning of this year, like, we had these weeks where we shot up and then found resistance, pulled back, shot up, found resistance, pulled back. So this isn't out of question right now. So I would say things overall looking positive, not in the clear yet. And just take that into account when looking at the indexes. We'll look at the weekly, and this is one of the other bigger concerns, is just how light the volume was for this week. We really see as we just kind of have volume teetering off. Some will say, well, that's due to August, people being on vacation. This is just your typical August action. And, I can agree with that somewhat, but just still to see us get near those all-time highs, bounce off and break above that 21-day on that kind of pullback bounce, have it on lighter volume. Just not exactly what I would like to see for a perfect reversal. Let's jump over and look at the S&P quick. Honestly, not much else to say about what happened here. We had a very similar pullback. It was obviously weaker. We did not hit those all-time highs. We still had that distribution. The action was pretty much identical, just weaker to what we saw on the NASDAQ. And again, this having a little bit more distribution showing within the index. Real quick, because I did not mention, I kind of skipped over that. Just key price levels. It's pretty simple here. On the upside, it's all-time highs. Just getting above that July 31st high, closing above it, holding above it. On the downside, it's really the 21. Really watching that 21. We've seen support there. I want to see us maintain support there if we do pull back to those levels, if this is going to keep trending higher. The 10-day, yeah, we're going to keep an eye on it. But if we break below it, not too big of a concern. And then the big, big low is the August 1st low. If we get down and break below that and then create a lower low, that's going to be super concerning to me. That's where I'm going to start saying, okay, I really need to start limiting my exposure and keeping an eye on the 50 if we pull back towards that. So that's what we're looking at in terms of the overall market trend. Hopefully that helps you guys kind of break things down. Let's jump over and take a look at a Deepvue. And we'll look at the industry groups. So on the industry groups, on the left-hand side, you have what Friday closed at, but the main focus we'll look at is this week. Silver miners, gold miners, home construction. These three have been a strong trend as of late. And really, especially for the gold miners, silver miners, that has been the bigger trend for the overall year. Really seeing outperformance there. And they are definitely one of the leaders, or the leaders in the market. Home construction, though, definitely something I've been taking note of. We've been seeing this constantly in the top every single week. We're seeing it start to climb in the monthly and not here on the year to date. So kind of seeing that trend switch where this might be a leading industry going into the future. Growth stocks, though, yes, it did finish in the top overall for the week. Out of the ones that were up for the week, definitely lagged. And Bitcoin miners, everybody knows Bitcoin's been a hot craze, AI's been a hot craze. So a little lagging for the week, but nothing too concerning. So I think, for us growth stock traders, you're definitely seeing these gold and silver miners looking healthy. The home construction is a new trend we're starting to see. And then these Bitcoin AI growth stocks all looking pretty good as well. All right, let's just talk overall exposure levels. All right, I like to do this every single week. When I look at the overall market, when I sit down over the weekend, I want to say, like, how should I be approaching this market based on the environment that I am in? And look, we had a very, very positive reaction to how last week ended. It was one of those where a lot of people are very, very concerned, but this week gave us a lot more optimism. I don't think we're completely, into the clear. This is back to a full uptrend. We could still get chopped up. And because of that, I think it's important to just make sure you're focusing on leading stocks, uh, treating the current trades you have, just trusting your stops and making sure those stops are accurate. But I'm not going in and starting to just buy anything and everything and chase this market. The big thing I will say is, because we had that pullback, there was a lot of opportunities that opened up in some of these leaders, specifically for you swing traders out there. You got those pullbacks to the 21, maybe some tightness that formed, and some alternate entries, add-on points for maybe you more traditional CANSLIM traders, and some true entries for some swing traders. So positive action there. But again, focusing on those leaders. If you were coming out from a very, very low exposure in the end of last week, I wouldn't be diving fully in 100%, just chasing everything. But if you, like myself, had some positions that you have been trending well, have not hit stops, and you see something that's breaking out, that's going to put you to 100% exposure, I don't see anything wrong with that. Keep in mind, we still have earnings going on, so that's something you want to just have in the back of your mind in terms of the stocks you're holding, the stocks you're looking to buy. Earnings season is a very volatile time, and you want to have a plan on how you are going to handle earnings. Last thing I'll say about earnings, there were many stocks that were setting up right into earnings, and they may be gapped up, and they may have ran away from you. And now you're sitting there watching what looks like a possible leader, and you're not in it. The key there is to be patient, to make sure that you are not chasing those gap ups, and you are just sitting back and waiting for another setup. Sometimes they're going to come, sometimes it won't, but eventually that stock is going to give you an alternative entry. So those stocks that you think are going to be big time leaders, just take a mental note, don't chase them, and really be focused on how that stock is acting. And if the opportunity presents itself, you'll be ready to capitalize on it. So something I wanted to add in on this week was just looking at a couple charts. So let's jump over on to Deepvue. And we'll start off with AMD. Chad, huge shout out to you from Discord. You had asked if we could take a look at this and kind of tell our thoughts. Look, I don't even need to bring up the kind of data around here in terms of the fundamentals, but I'll do it anyway so people can take a quick look. We'll pull this out right here. There we go. All right. So look, fundamentals look good. Not saying anything wrong here, right? Everything in the fundamental side looks good. We're going to minimize that now and take a look at the weekly. Oh, and we are on the wrong chart. Let's do this. There we go. That makes more sense. My bad. All right, so fundamentals, I didn't really look because I knew it looked good. The fundamentals do look good on here. We did have this last quarter coming in negative, which, not overly concerning, but everything else on the fundamental side is looking good. So the big question I think most people are asking is, like, what's going on with this chart? And we had this big, big pullback and correction, or not even pullback, big, big correction since basically the beginning of 2024. And now kind of bottomed, and we've got a clear trend upwards as the moving averages, everything are sitting nice. So on the weekly, clearly fully extended. And even on the daily, we're very, very extended. But you can see that we're kind of starting to form this big, big cup right here. What I would say here is, especially for traditional CANSLIM traders, this is just a wait. Just sit, wait for a base to form, wait for an entry. Even for swing traders, this gap down here, look for this to tighten up, look for this to go a little more sideways, present a better type of entry. To me right now, I'm calling this extended, and I'm just sitting back and waiting. And if you're in the chat and you want to ask a stock to be brought up and talked about, just throw it in the chat. Hood, this is one I wanted to bring up just because it's been a leader. It's a stock that I own, and this was a prime add-on setup for me. I had bought way back over here as we kind of broke out of this double bottom with a little bit of a handle. Bought in here, kind of had rode this up. And right here was just one of those perfect add-on entries. So I'm heavily exposed in this one, but I am happy because it is one of those big leaders. This stock had pulled back, kind of shook out over here, shook out below 21, really got a lot of those people, weaker hands out of this stock. And then we kind of tightened up, trended sideways. We were able to draw a really nice trend line that connected off 1, 2, 3 highs right here. And then boom, we got this, whether you want to call it a wedge bop, trend break, whatever, you bounce off this 21 overall. We got the volume coming in, jumped up. I added on in that kind of earlier hours of that day, and now we're kind of breaking towards and have closed at all-time highs. So that's the type of thing that I'm looking for in these leaders. If I am something that I had missed and I want to add on, I want at least some type of setup like this that gives me a real tight stop, and that is giving me a really good technical entry instead of trying to chase something. You know, somebody might have wanted to buy here, right? And it was very quick pullback, only to the 10, not enough shakeout in here, where at least as it trended for a little bit longer, we got a little bit more viable of a entry over there. Oh, wow. Damn. I can't believe I just did that. Oh God. All right. I can't believe I just went all through all that with you guys and nobody even saw my chart. Woody, thank you for bringing that up. Hopefully you guys were following along with that. And you kind of know what I'm looking at. You got the comments. You can see what I'm talking about. Bought over here, trended upwards, pulled back, 3 tops that were kind of connected here. Nice pop. So I'm not going to bore you guys with going through all the same comments again. Hopefully that suffices. But thank you, Woody, for letting me know that I'm only showing my face. All right. Let's see. AMD, we'll just go back to that for Chad. And basically here, like I said, big cup here. Overall, it's extended. Same thing we kind of talked about. This is just kind of choppy over here. I'd like to see this tighten up and get a better opportunity to enter in here. Definitely a strong performer. And just, you know, not what I'm looking for in terms of entry. Let's see. Woody, AGX. This was actually one that I also had on my list. If you actually look here on my spotlight list, AGX is on there. So good call on that. Love this setup. You have a clear uptrend here. Let's just bring up the fundamentals. You know, fundamentals look great on this one. Quarterly earnings, strong. Quarterly sales, strong. Here's the annual, big annual, trending upwards. So positive. You see the funds pouring into this. You see the industry group ranking really strong. You see the ROE really strong. This is like a textbook CANSLIM stock. RS looking great. You can even see with Deepvue has those composite ratings, 99, 99, 91, 98, 90, 98, stage 2 uptrend. Like this is like, for me, a textbook CANSLIM setup. Earnings aren't until September, so there's plenty of time to get some juice in this one before earnings releases. And what we're seeing here, clear uptrend, really powerful. We ran up 144%, so beautiful uptrend. And then now we've kind of come in and based. The correction, looking at this base, the deepest part of it, not too deep, pretty shallow, 21% correction. And we've kind of trended sideways now for a, what do you got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks. So really nice textbook base looking at this right here. Plus, we kind of got this handle now. So as we got to those highs, we did look like we were just breaking out of a traditional cup base, but then closed right back below it intraday. We've kind of saw that big volume pullback, which this is really related to a lot of what went on in that Friday market. So it wasn't too concerning for me. But then you see the volume kind of teeter down. We got all these moving averages starting to converge. We started to kind of tighten up a little bit, and it looks like we're getting ready to break out. So be patient on this one, I would say. There is a chance that we come up and then pull back and tighten even more, which you could probably draw some sort of a trend line in there off of these highs and then see all those moving averages converge and then hopefully get a nice like pop off of there. Or you could just wait for us to break back into that overall base buy range. But I think this is super constructive. It is in that construction area in terms of the construction and engineering, and that industry has been, like we said, trending upwards as well. So company does a lot within designing of different types of energy facilities, natural gas, solar, things like that. So this is one of the top in terms of the setups that I've been looking at. So good call on that, Woody. Last one I want to bring up is Reddit, just because this is the talk of the town right now. Everybody's talking about this. Trended upwards, huge correction in the beginning of the year, and a lot of people just saying, well, this was just almost like a meme stock thing, just ran up. Now it's going to be shot. But what happened was we came back down. We had a kind of flattening out period. We broke this clear downtrend and sideways action, started that uptrend, and it started to create what looked like a beautiful area to entry. The only concern that we had, and I had bought this kind of back here, I forget exact day, but somewhere back here as it kind of looked like it was breaking that tight sideways action, was the earnings. Earnings was a big concern. And I don't like holding into earnings unless I have about a 10% cushion. So I sold my position. I sat back, I waited, and watched it go on without me as we gapped up right before earnings, the day before, and then gapped up a lot, up, it's almost 17% after earnings. And then we've not really pulled back from there. We've just continued to trend higher and getting towards that all-time high. So we all want to be in this. Most of us want to be in this. A lot of us see this as a leader. The fundamentals on this one look great, but you can't buy up here. I mean, there is a real likelihood at some point that this just stalls as it gets those all-time highs and kind of pulls back from here. Could pull back all the way to down here. It's super extended from the moving averages. It could just go on without us, but likely what I think will happen is we'll get some tightness around here. Hopefully we'll get some sort of a pullback in here and give us a base to kind of enter. So don't chase. This is exactly what I'm talking about in terms of don't chase. But this is high on my watch list, keeping an eye for some sort of setup to present itself in the next coming weeks. All right. Other than that, that is really all I got in terms of looking at charts. Thank you guys for throwing some in the chat. Thank you, Chad, in Discord for bringing up AMD and going over that, because I know a lot of people were talking about that in the channel. But all right, that's all we got for this week. Look, be disciplined. Be selective with your setups. Don't chase those leaders. If the leaders give opportunities to either add on or possibly get into it, and it's part of your strategy, get ready to be prepared if that breaks out, that you can get in on that. And, keep in mind, there are still a lot of earnings out there. Not as bad as it was the last 2 weeks, but there is still some stocks reporting earnings. So understand how you're going to handle that time period, because it can be volatile. Other than that, that's all we got. If you're watching on Twitter, YouTube channels up there, I post these over there as well. If you're watching on Twitter or X, also have these saved up on YouTube. You can go back to a lot of the old weeks, a little easier to go through the archived ones. We got the link for the Discord in the YouTube description. You can message me on X if you want to join. Over 1,000 CANSLIM and CANSLIM style traders in there. Great group of people. And I leave a lot of my market commentary in there every single week. And if you want, there's my email. You can reach out to me via email. But that's all we got. Apologize for the little technical difficulty I had. But thank you, Woody, for bringing it up.